the motherfucking intro. I'm just trying to get that money like 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. I'm here with Gino.
Hey, Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac. Represent on my block. Try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot. I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to gain. I wanna get that big bag, need that D-Rex. Blow up Tic Tac with a blue cheese at. I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the roll, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go. On the road, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the last Frankie Candles live stream of the year right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bitcoin pretty much followed our plan from yesterday, still wiggling around in the sideways range, guys. As I mentioned, wasn't really expecting too much out of Bitcoin for the rest of the year. I do expect the volatility to pick up in 2026, and that is what this live stream is going to be about. I want to talk about what to expect in 2026. I know the high time frames look bearish. I'm going to cover the two scenarios that I see potentially coming into play here. Are we going to get an early bottom if we do get the bigger drop down, or are we headed into that traditional brutal bear market with the 70-ish, 80% corrections? I'm going to cover the both, two of the most kind of high probability scenarios that I'm going to be watching, and hopefully not scare anybody, but also kind of give you peace of mind that this dump, I am so tired of talking about how bearish the charts look, but I am very, very, very optimistic about what is going to happen in 2026 and kind of the roadmap forward, right? We might have to go through a little bit more pain, but it's not going to last forever, and I'm going to try to prepare you guys for what I'm expecting so you don't get spooked out of the market at the wrong time. And of course, we'll do a quick market update on Bitcoin, talking about those local key levels. So shout out to the Mafia. Welcome in, guys. Happy early New Year. We got Jay Violet in the chat, Nick Dunn. We got Pennywise in the chat, everybody's favorite friendly clown. I think he's friendly. Actually, I'm not sure if he's friendly yet, but his New Year's resolution is to be more of a friendly clown. Shout out to Pennywise. Welcome in. We got Jesse. Darren Does Things in the chat. Holding it down. What is going on, guys? Show the mod some love in the chat. We got Erica up in here. What is going on? I don't expect to get too many viewers tonight, obviously. But we got John Santos. John Santos said, "Don't spill your coffee." I was literally going to say that in the intro, and then I read that comment. I got a fresh cup here. I'm going to try not to spill it because spilled it on the premium live stream the other day, and it was brutal. It was absolutely horrible. It's all over my carpet. But let's see. Whale is predicting the bottom next October. I'm going to talk about two very specific dates, actually three specific dates, one more locally, and then two for, if we do get the bigger drop into, what we would call a bear market. I'm going to talk about two dates, one kind of painful, one a lot more optimistic. So, yeah, we're going to cover that. We got Big Huggies in the chat. What is going on? Welcome in. Welcome in. Let's see here. We aren't scared, Frank. Cheap BTC is necessary for us to load up. Shout out to John Santos. I like that attitude, bro. That is my attitude as well. And also, we'll cover the Zcash short that we talked about yesterday that we were in. Did wind up coming down to our targets. I'll talk about what I'm expecting next there. And then maybe we'll take a look at some of the altcoins. And we do have a quick Q&A, guys. As always, this is going to be a short stream. So yeah, drop the Q&As in the Q&A section. Please do not super chat your altcoins. Don't super chat the questions. Just put them in the Q&A. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so here we are. Let me get these levels off the chart here. So I'm going to do a quick little local update here on Bitcoin. Now, yesterday, as you guys know, literally looking for this exact situation. Last night on the live stream, we were coming up here and tapping into the golden pocket, and we were looking at the probabilities of potentially filling this volume profile. And as we were tapping that golden pocket, we knew this is the major level to look at least on the lower time frames, for a potential lower high to come in before losing our POC once again, and then getting the bigger drop down towards the value area low, which does still sit. Please hold, guys. Please hold. How do I get this off my chart? What is going on here? Oh, my God. Hang on one sec, guys. I'm like, what is this percentage? Let me see. Will this change it? FC main? All right, well, there we go. I'm going to have to... Can I just delete this? What is going on here? All right, we're just going to deal with that. We got the prices right here. But... as we look at this, guys, we have the value area low sitting at about $86,700. Now, this is going to be the next local level of support. Obviously, not going to be actively trading today, or probably not tomorrow either. But we did see Bitcoin tap in the golden pocket. We decided to come up one more time to push into that 786. Got a wick into the value area high, but it did end in a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low here, breaking that structure and breaking back below the POC. So, of course, that kind of sentiment was to potentially see that move back down to the value area low. And we do have some liquidity sitting down there as we looked at yesterday, guys. We have that liquidity sitting down here starting at about 86.6, leading down to about $86,000. So I will be looking at this. Obviously, liquidity does act as a magnet for price. If you watch the channel to any capacity, we'll know that. So if we do come down there, we could look for a flush of that liquidity. Now, is this a super big major level that I'm interested in? Obviously, not really. But we do have that liquidity sitting down here. So just locally for any of the scalpers or day traders, that wick does sit down here at about $86,320, and I'm just going to continue to treat this as a typical volume profile. If we get that wiggle down to the value area low, hopefully we can come down there and sweep out some of that liquidity. If we can get some bullish confirmations down there, get back into the range, we could potentially look for scalp longs to the upside. Not a signal, not financial advice, just what I'm going to be looking for next. Even if I don't take a trade, right, we will look for potential fake outs there, back into the range, and then, of course, just treating that as a volume profile, back to the POC, back to the value area high. I'm going to take this fib off the chart because it's already tapped. Pretty crazy, right? We always talk about those 786 golden pocket retracements to be the place to look at, and you can see, right? There's the lower high. You got a little wick into the value area high, but eventually, obviously, that anticipation was to lose the POC and get the bigger drop down. But that is local, right? All these levels remain the same, guys, just stuck in this super tight range. Got the liquidity sitting down there. And then below, right, of course, if we pull up a little bit of a higher time frame, I'll come up to like the 4-hour here. Of course, let's go ahead and take off the scalp range. Take off that wick here. We do have our larger volume profile, which, of course, we're just bing-bonging around this POC. I am still holding my long position from down here at $85,000 on Femex, just kind of bing-bonging around that point of control. So we'll see what happens, but this is the larger range with our value area low and daily confluence sitting down here at about 85.7. POC obviously sits here at 87K, and then the more significant level of resistance, other than just this tiny little scalp range that we're in, is going to be sitting up here. We have a daily, the value area high, and the daily MPOC. So again, like the larger range here, if you're not looking to scalp, right, maybe we come back down here, we can reclaim, right? We're just looking at this as a larger range. But as I've described and explained on every live stream, probably the last 15 live streams ever since we've been in this range, the more important levels to me, guys, the higher time frame levels, I'll even take off this local daily MPOC. I would really, for the bigger long positions, of course, still waiting to potentially take out that $80,500 low into our weekly and daily MPOC. Got some nice confluence down there, down to about 78.5. Just looking at that as a potentially big level of support. I'm not saying that you have to get a massive rip up, but it is going to be a place where I'll be looking for another significant bounce. And then if we do end up coming up first, I'll try to take a look at Market Cypher to give you guys an idea of like what I would be expecting the higher probability to be. But as we chop around here, I don't really have, I guess my preference would be to get the push up because I am still holding the long position. But of course, my profits are locked in. My stop loss is at break even. So even if it does come down, I'll still make money on that position. But if we do get the move up first, 91,000, call it about 91,007 to 92,700. 92.5, call it 92.5 to 91.7 is the local resistance just within the volume profile. If we get the breakout and we push above this level, you might be able to see a bigger squeeze up here to about 95 to 97,500. The same exact levels we've been looking at, which is why I am doing a quick local update here on Bitcoin. You guys can screenshot all these levels and get them on your chart. There you go, right? Those are the local levels. And then, of course, when we take a look here at the daily, right, we've been looking at this money flow, attempting to continue to the upside. Still chugging along, right? VWAP rolling over. We'll just have to see if this crosses over. Again, I don't really have too much of a preference what happens here. I just have my alert set, and I'm just waiting to come down to up to our bigger levels to the upside and down to our bigger levels down here. And, of course, we have some local levels on these wicks. I'm not going to cover those because they're not as significant in my opinion. So, yeah, if you're just here for the higher time frame levels, maybe you could consider this a little bit higher time frame, right? Because if we pull up our macro volume profile, let's hide the current range here. If we pull up the macro volume profile, right, of course, we are just continuously slapping our head here on the value area low at $89,000. I covered this yesterday. If you just want to look at this, I don't want to over confuse everybody with a ton of different levels here, but when we just look at this, right, here's your major volume profile. We're really struggling to get above this, guys. If we want to get an opportunity to at least get up into the 92.5 level, and if not, maybe the 97K level, you got to get above 89K. If we can't break above that, guys, there's no reason to even be looking up here. So, mark that off as well. $89,000 macro value area low. And of course, I'm not really looking at this as a flip of support into the POC, into the value area high, at least as of yet. Of course, we have the higher time frame money flow continuing to the downside, which I've covered plenty of times on the channel. And I do want to touch on the higher time frames, guys. What to expect in 2026. Are we going into the full-blown bear market? Are we going down 75, 80%? Is it going to take a long time? I have two major scenarios. I'm going to talk about the two major dates I'm going to be looking at for a potential bottom to come in. Again, one being that kind of early scenario. I have it all marked off here on the Bitstamp chart for you guys, nice and simply. I'm even going to talk about how you could prepare psychologically for this, right? Because it does, obviously, from a chart and timing perspective, it does seem that we are almost in the exact same situation that we were in here in 2021 with the top coming in on the bearish divergences, weekly money flow, momentum coming to the downside, indicating we would get a bigger drop to the downside. And, when I looked at this, right, and I talked about the possibilities of a bear market coming in here for a lower high and a lower low, of course, this was based off the charts. And a lot of people fought me on this, right? A lot of people were unhappy to hear me say this because the general consensus was 100K was incoming, right? And everyone was looking at this higher low. Oh, my God, higher low, 100K incoming. But not all higher lows are created equal. With money flow coming out, of course, we are going to be looking for lower highs and lower lows, timing of the cycle, massive bearish divergences, momentum coming out, right? There were a lot of signs of weakness. And when it comes to the charts, guys, this is why I love being a technical analyst and a trader in general, because we could obviously make money as price goes down. But usually the signs are on the chart first, right? And I know a lot of people don't like to believe that, but it happens time and time again. The signs are on the chart, and then the crowd, the masses, the people who chase the narratives are typically behind, right? And that was exactly what happened here. We had all the technical divergences. We had all the momentum, all, higher highs, lower highs. We had even money flow divergences, momentum coming out, money flow coming out, making us look for that lower high and lower low. Of course, going against the crowd, right? And I don't go against the crowd because I like, crowd's always wrong or anything like that, right? If the crowd was saying lower high, lower low, I just would have been on the side of the crowd. But there's no real narrative here. There's no real massive bearish news that comes in here. Maybe there were some small things, but nothing really to shake confidence. We get that move to the downside. People are still hopeful. They see the higher low. They see the hidden bullish divergence on the weekly. They're like, oh my God, this is huge, right? But the money flow indicates the overall trend. This is oftentimes going to indicate lower highs and lower lows. Obviously, again, timing of the cycle, all that other stuff as well. And then, I actually have this all marked off on the chart now. We had two obvious major narratives come in here, right? Everyone's thinking bull market's going to continue, higher low, 100K incoming. A lot of people got caught off sides here, probably because they weren't paying attention to the chart, but there was really no reason to be scared here, right? A lot of people were hopeful. There was no reason to lose confidence or give up on crypto. And then what happens, right? We wiggle around. We wind up losing this range, bear flag, however you want to look at that. And what happens, right? We get the Terra Luna situation to play out. We get the massive drop to the downside and, big dump. Little consolidation, big dump. And then at this point, this is where people accept, all right, now we're in a bear market. This creates a lot of fear. And this is all going to line up because I'm going to kind of tell you guys how you could prepare yourself psychologically to not get caught off sides, to start seeing the signals, right? All the same signals we saw up here, screaming from the rooftops that $108,000, the loss of this 108K range low was going to be very bearish for Bitcoin because, of course, we saw all the same confirmations. We had the weekly bearish divergences. The money flow was coming out, very, very bearish signs, right? And still, I would say a lot of people are still very hopeful. And again, it's not that it's impossible to continue to the upside, but we're in that exact same scenario, right? And then what happens, right? Terra Luna happens, big drop to the downside. People finally start to become bearish, right? They start to say, okay, now I'm starting to lose confidence. This is really bad. And then it's like, oh my God, this is all over. We're chopping sideways. This is boring. And then boom, FTX happens. And that's like everyone loses trust. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is horrible. Crypto's dead. They're going to regulate this into the ground. It's all over. It's never coming back. And, when you see these signals very late, right? Obviously, most of the dump had already happened. Even if you were just looking at the Terra Luna situation here, 74% drop to the downside. We eventually wound up going down like 76%. I don't think I pulled it perfectly to the wicks. 76%, right? A majority of the dump had already happened after most people are just accepting that, okay, now we're in a bear market, right? They are bearish. These are the dips that people do not want to buy. Everybody wants to buy these dips. Nobody wants to buy these dips because, we were already in a bear market longer than people thought, right? They just think this is the start of the bear market. At the end of the day, majority of the drop is done. They start to get really bearish on the dips, and especially after this, right? A lot of people are just like, I'm done. Crypto's dead. But what should you be doing down here, right? Well, you should be looking to accumulate your spot bags, right? Let me go ahead and change this so it doesn't extend all the way to the right, right? You should be looking to accumulate your spot bags down here. This is, right, and when you look at the chart, it's like, all right, well, we expected this. Now we have all this fear. Now we're starting to see technical divergences, bullish divergences, the exact opposite of what you saw at the top. You've already gotten the 77% drawdown. Do I think we're going to be in this situation for this cycle? I'm optimistic that it won't be the case. I could be wrong, right? I don't want to say this is 100% certain. I'm going to show you the two scenarios. One's going to be kind of a situation like this. The other one's going to be a little bit of an earlier bear market bottom coming in. I'm a little optimistic here with the potential money printing, the new Fed chair coming in May, that this could change things potentially. But what should you be doing down here, right? You should be, all right, well, hey, we got the big drop, 77% down. This is where everyone says, this is the start of the bear market. We're already down this much. We have to go to 8K. We have to go to 3K. And that is where the accumulation begins. This is where Bitcoin starts to find the bottom, right? The sellers are exhausted. Everyone's just given up. You build the base, and then you snap back to the upside into the bear market. And, of course, this lined up perfectly with the 4-year cycle. But here's the situation we're in right now. And I know I pull this fractal constantly, guys. Right, it's very, very similar. I'm going to pull this up in a second in a little bit more detail. Right, we're in a very, very similar situation. Right, timing wise, structure wise, we are in some kind of a situation like this, and it's very similar to back here. There's no real super bearish narratives. Right, we don't have exchanges going down. I'm not saying that has to be the narratives this time, but there's just nothing to really turn people bearish. Right, people who have not seen the bearish signs on the charts. This is why it's very hard for me to talk about this stuff, because everybody wants to go against it. And listen, I pray that it's wrong. As I say every single day, I would rather be calling for downside. And, hey, if price goes up, I'm happy. I still hold some of my crypto. I'll make money. And, I'd rather be wrong to the upside than the downside. I have to bring this stuff up. And it just looks eerily similar. And hopefully bringing this stuff up kind of brings that to your attention. There's nothing really here that is making people lose faith in crypto. I know the altcoins are really bad, but there's no real clear narrative. It's like we have a pro-crypto president, all this stuff. Like, why is price not pumping? So, are we going to see another narrative? I would somewhat expect that, right? Eventually, maybe something comes in. We get the next big leg to the downside, whether we get the retracement or we just come down from here. The big capitulation happens. People finally start to accept that we're in a bear market, and they're like, all right, now the bear market's just starting, and now there's a reason to be scared, right? This is a dip you wouldn't want to buy, or most people would not want to buy, right? Everyone wants to buy here, high or low, hidden bullish divergence on the weekly. It's the same thing as here. Hidden bullish divergence on the daily, on the weekly, money flow coming out. Hidden bullish divergence on the weekly, sure, you can get a retracement, but that money flow is definitely, from a technical perspective, calling for another leg down. This is what I will be expecting. Oh no, my camera froze. Are we good? I think we're good. So once we wind up getting some kind of a bearish narrative, if it happens, right? Of course, this doesn't have to happen, but just be prepared for this, right? If we do end up getting a bearish narrative coming in, we get another leg to the downside, just understand, just like up here, the charts were calling the dump early, right? So, we don't know what that narrative could be, right? Like I said, show me the charts. I'll tell you the news every single time. Show me the charts. I'll tell you the news, right? I don't know what the news is, but I'll just say, hey, probably something's going to come in here and scare people. So if that does happen, just understand, maybe we get this over quickly, right? Maybe we get the big drop to the downside. And again, it's going to depend on what price looks like down here. Of course, we have our major support level down here. We have our next major volume profile. I'm about to bring up those 2 dates that I'm looking at. And if we get down here, right, what are people going to be thinking? Okay, the bear market just started. Maybe we have been in a bear market very similar to back here. Maybe the true top is on that first top. This is kind of the camp that I fall in, right? Maybe in November and December of 2024, maybe this was the true top. This was the inflated dead cat bounce, if you want to call it that, to put in the bearish divergences. The money flow comes out. And, maybe we've been in a bear market longer than people realize, and they're going to start getting bearish. And I'm not saying this in a way of like, they're going to be wrong, right? I never hope that for anybody. But, a lot of times, this is repeatable, right? This happens time and time again in the market where the masses just get off sides, right? Because they don't understand what they're looking at. They don't understand how the asset moves. So if we do get a very scary narrative, this is not the place to give up, right? And this is why, I'm going to bring up these 2 dates right now. Is this time going to be different? Well, maybe it's a little bit different, but not really that different, right? Maybe we are going to get that next leg to the downside. That's my base case here, even if we get the retracement. But this is not the place where it's like, oh my God, now we're finally entering a bear market. We're going to look back in time and be like, well, hey, like we kind of saw the early signs up here. Lose 108K, weekly money flow coming out, very bearish signals, right? And if you're just starting to get bearish here, and we wind up building an early bottom for very specific reasons that I'm about to bring up, this would be the wrong time to become bearish. And when we get down here, when we can actually look at the charts, we will have a better idea. And again, we don't know what the news is going to be, and very likely, if it's looking like a bottom is coming in and there's a lot of bearish news, people are going to be thinking, oh my God, this is crazy. Why is this guy bullish? But it's because we've been bearish for so long, right? So if the narrative does come in, we get the drop, just understand, right? One of the reasons, obviously, we have potential money printing coming down the line, hopefully lower rates. We have the new Fed chair coming in, I think May, which is kind of the first date, right? And this does line up with some chart indicators as well. So let's just say, I don't know how long this is going to take, right? Maybe we wiggle around up here for longer than we think, or maybe we just get the quick drop down. Again, depending on how much time we spend up here, these things can change. But if we pull up a Fibonacci, let me just mark out May real quick. That's November 2026. This is the scary one. But let's just say, right, we kind of wiggle around here. Maybe we get the drop again. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We have the major support down here between $70,000 and $68,000. If we get accepted into this range, right, we would expect this volume profile to get respected somewhat. Maybe we deviate below the low. This is where this is the first place, right, between 70 and, mid to low 50s is where I would be entertaining the fact of, maybe we could start looking for a bottom, right? What is going to get us down here? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have one of these or one of these, right? I don't know exactly what those narratives are going to be, but I would not be surprised if something comes in. If we come down here, right, again, depending on what the charts look like, let's say we wiggle around up here, money flow let's do it this way. Right, let's say we chop around here a little bit more. Again, I'm not super hopeful for this, to be quite honest with you. But maybe money flow continues out. We start to cross into the red on the weekly. Money flow comes into the red. We get the drop. We bounce around. Money flow continues out. Again, timing is not taken into account here. I'm just drawing. Then we come down here. If we are in a significant red wave, this is going to be an area where I am interested in accumulating again, right? Not just wait till we get down here and accumulate. It depends on what the chart looks like. But if it looks something like this, where we have a nice big red wave on the weekly and money flow keeps coming up, well, we have to keep in mind that in May, where are we at? May. Let me just mark this off real quick, right? I don't know the exact, maybe someone give me the exact date. But, sometime in May, they would expect to replace the Fed chair, right? More dovish, probably crypto friendly. Could be really good, right? And maybe they start printing money like crazy. You have midterms, right? They're gonna want the Republicans are gonna want to look really, really good. They're gonna want to try to pump the markets. Maybe that's what Trump gets. Maybe he gets his Fed chair in. They start pumping the markets. Obviously, really bad for the long term, right? Printing more money, but it would be good for assets, right? So if that does happen, right, I could see a situation. And let me actually just pull up this fractal here that I have. Where we at? Right here, right? So let me actually pull up that same volume profile, right? And, regardless of the monetary policy, this is still just going to be structural support, right? Well, isn't this interesting? I pulled this from 2019. Again, I'm not expecting it to play out exactly like this, but maybe it's something like this, right? And the similarities here are very low rates, massive money printing, right? Maybe it's something like this. This is option number one. This is the more optimistic view. And I am open to this. And I pray that, we could start talking about that down here, because I know a lot of people are going to want to hear that rather than what we've been talking about recently. But it would bring us right down here into that value area, potentially finding support somewhere within here, retesting the previous all-time high of 2021, which, of course, was very similar to the situation that we had back here in 2021. Bada boom, you retest the all-time high, you deviate below it, and there's even more significant support levels down here that we bounced off of, right? We had the Fibonacci retracement from the low all the way to the bull market high, tapped into that 786. If we pull that same Fibonacci retracement from the low of the bear market into the all-time high, you can see that it does pull right into that golden pocket. And if I actually take this and put it on not on a log scale, to keep it off the log scale, pushes into the golden pocket, right? This would be massive support, right? Not only do you have the all-time high, not only do you have the value area low, you also have the golden pocket. Very, 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 very similar to what we've seen in the past. Now, that would be the optimistic case, right? Again, if we see the big change in monetary policy, that would be something is different. This is not just hopeful. This is not just, hoping that, price goes up because yay bulls, right? This would be, hey, we're actually seeing something change. We haven't seen this. Well, we have seen it in the past back here in 2021, and maybe that's how the cycle changes, right? Maybe the bear market's a little bit less intense and we get a little bit of an earlier pop. And this would probably, this would break what we know of the 4-year cycle. And I do want to bring up these time fibs as well, right? When we pull up these time-based, trend-based Fibonacci time, right, this is, I'm not going to explain exactly how this works, but it's basically just measuring time. But we had this 1-to-1 time fib. Oh, this is the wrong one. We had this 1-to-1 time fib on October 20th. I've talked about this as we came, like before we approached October 20th, saying this could be a big pivot in the market. This same 1-to-1 time fib was exactly where the top came in right here in 2021, literally to the day. Here, it wasn't exactly to the day, but of course, we don't expect that stuff to be spot on. But you could see that big pivot did start there on October 20th. When you see these time fibs, it's not as easy as just seeing a time fib and being like, this is where the dump happens, this is where the pump happens. This is just typically where you're going to see big pivots in the market. And this is why I was looking at this. We saw the bearish confirmations. We saw the money flow coming out. We were expecting a drop to the downside anyway, and we looked at October 20th potentially being that time. And there it is, right? You got one last green candle, big pivot down. So, go ahead and hide that, right? There's your kind of more bullish case, right? Maybe it's a little quicker. Maybe it's a little less painful. Maybe we dip.Maybe we get the early pump. I wouldn't say this is my base. I wouldn't say I have a base case, right? Because, again, it depends on what it looks like down here. If the chart looks like trash down here, unfortunately, we're going to have to go with option 2, which is the scarier scenario, right? I'm not here. No one has a crystal ball, right? Nobody that you listen to, none of your friends, nobody knows exactly where this thing is going. I am on the pursuit of following the chart, right? If I had massive reasons to look for all-time highs here, I would have. I did not see the reasons, so we trade the chart that we're given, right? This is not the chart that I wanted, right? I wanted massive new all-time highs. I think everybody wants massive all-time highs, but when the chart comes in, that's the boss. Hey, this looks like trash. Makes that the lower probability, and here we are. So the worst case scenario, right? What is the word? That's probably what we should put on the thumbnail. Worst case scenario for 2026 would just essentially be, guys, seeing the 4-year cycle repeat itself, right? Which obviously would be this fractal, which I've covered many, many a times. If you're just going to see the 4-year cycle repeat, which is, definitely not impossible. Did I delete the fractal? What is going on here? I'll just pull it again. Am I tripping? I think I'm tripping, guys. Anyway, I'll just pull it again. It's just essentially going to be this, right? From the high, right? We're just going to kind of copy the previous cycle, right? There's your top. Whoops. Just make it a little bit more adjusted there, right? We're somewhere like this, right? And again, timing-wise, I am hopeful that we're not going to have to wait this long, right? If the 4-year cycle repeats, we would expect to bottom out around, where are the bottoms here? Bottoms. October 2026. This would be brutal, right? This would be if the 4-year cycle repeats, same exact way it has in the past. Timing-wise, that would be the expected bottom around October 2026. This would be brutal. If we see the money printing, guys, we may be able to avoid this. If the charts look good down here, around 50 to 70K, it could be good. Retest the all-time high, massive money printing, that would be something actually different. Maybe we sweep out the liquidity and send it. That could be the case. The worst case scenario would be to see the 4-year cycle play out traditionally, and then the October 2026 would be around where we would expect the bottom, right? And if you've traded the 4-year cycle through any of these, you would have been pretty accurate, right? My dad, shout out to my dad. My dad crushes his trades. He sold the exact top pretty much. I don't know if he sold 126 or 125, whatever it is. But he basically just times it, right? He's just like, I'd expect the top here. He's also a stock trader, so he kind of times it with that stuff as well. But he's done really well just following the 4-year cycle, not looking at technicals, really. So, if you just trade the 4-year cycle, this would be the anticipation, but it's important to understand what the charts look like. You have to take that into account, right? So this would be kind of the worst-case scenario. I'm hopeful that we do not have to see this. I'm praying that we don't have to see that. And if we do get the bigger drop down, and we come into this volume profile and we see those signs on the chart, guys, I will be here to hold your hand every step of the way. We'll be able to start. You'll hear me change my tune, right? We'll be like, oh my God, guys, this looks pretty good. Same thing that we talked about down here. You wait for that weekly money flow to cross over. Once that weekly money flow crosses over, just historically, you end up seeing massive panic, massive drops to the downside. Is the money flow magical? Probably not. But it works, right? Once you get into the red, you get the big capitulation. This is where you want to accumulate. So if you see a very, very scary narrative come into the market and we get some crazy capitulations to the downside, this is not the time to walk away from crypto. This is the time to pay the most attention. If you've come in this cycle, I know this cycle has been super painful, especially for altcoins. But as I've covered, right, I'm pretty happy with my stances on crypto here, and it's not that I have some crystal ball. It's just that I follow the charts, right? Like the charts have just been really good to me. They haven't really been wrong yet, at least this cycle. And a lot of people say like the bull market, the bull market hasn't even started yet, right? Well, if you measure it from the breakout, right, like from the breakout of the all-time high, it's like you're only up 81%. People are thinking like, oh my God, if we go to 200K, that's only 200%. That's really, really plausible in a bull market. But the bull market doesn't start on the breakout of the all-time high. The bull market starts when you start dumping down, right? Or not when you start, obviously starts at the bottom. But you want to start anticipating the bull market on the pushes down. And when you start looking here where we were accumulating in the Mafia, well, wick to wick, right? You get a 700% gain, right? That is a bull market. The Bitcoin bull market was indeed here, right? And we talked about that. We looked to buy the dips here. I didn't buy the dips, but because I bought down here. But talking about this could be a dip to buy. This could be a dip to buy. And then once we start coming down here, I'm not saying that it's impossible to just yeet on off the all-time highs. But again, the charts are not necessarily pointing towards that. My best case scenario, if we, I will be expecting another capitulation down, maybe something like that. But again, it all depends on what the charts look like down there. So I wanted to cover those kind of two situations, right? Either, and here's the thing too, right? If we get the capitulation down soon, right? Let's just say we don't get the retracement and we just come down sooner than later, right? Well, that brings us into like February, maybe March. Again, it's very hard to call the exact timing here, guys. I wish I could. But let's just say we come down sooner than later, right? Maybe, we start to build the bottom in around March, right? That doesn't mean bull market starts in March, right? Because you could have a lot of accumulation. You could wiggle around sideways. You could hang out here for a little while. It might be another little scary dump, something like that. I don't know exactly what the structure will look like, but I would say I think February is a little too early, maybe March. And then maybe the accumulation kind of wiggles into May, right? March, and then at that point, let me just draw this volume profile real quick. Right, let's just say you get the quicker capitulation down, right? You boom, there's February. You kind of wiggle around. Oh, my God. Start going into March. April, you start to recover. Then you kind of bing bong sideways. There's probably going to be scary dumps. Remember, the bottom of the bear market is not clean, right? You could, if you were looking at this as the bottom, right? Like you would have been pretty close. But you come back up. Oh, my God, scary. Oh, my God, scary. Oh, my God, it's all over. Boom. So if we see something like that, which is very likely, whether it forms here or even lower, it's gonna be confusing. It's gonna be scary. It's not gonna be super clean. But maybe you wiggle around, right? And then once you get into March, maybe in May they start printing money, right? Maybe that's the early bottom signal, and you start to get the bigger push up. That's the best case scenario. And one thing I do want to pull up about the other kind of fractal that I pulled here, the worst case scenario, not worst, the worst case, the worser case, I guess you could say. It's not a word, but that's okay. If that happens, guys, that is where, the 30,000s come into play, right? So again, is this time different? Well, if they start printing money, we can say there's a pretty plausible case there that this time might be different. If not, right, if we come down here and money flow is still coming out, it's an early crossover, it's bearish, we'll know, right? We'll see signs on the chart. You'll either see me saying like, oh my God, guys, this looks pretty good. Or we're going to be like, oh, I don't know, guys, we might be continuing down. I'm praying, guys, I'm praying. I'm praying that we could come down here, even if we wiggle down a little bit more, hoping that we can get that earlier situation to play out. But if not, right, the worst case scenario for me personally, like I've covered in the past, is probably going to be, right, I'm just going to look at it from a technical perspective, right? When we pull this volume profile, the better case scenario, right, maybe you come down here, March, April, right, you come to retest this macro value area high. At that point, maybe we can form a bottom in there. We also have a very key point of control at about $47,000 on the Bybit chart. So I'll mark that off as well. So you do have a little bit of extra support down there. So I would look at this as a zone between 51,000 and 47.8. Get back into the range, right? May comes. Start it up, right? That would be the better scenario. If not, if it looks like trash, right, similar to what it looked like here, right? Well, not even really. It was kind of just a fast drop down, right? But if that longer-term scenario does play out, we lose this, right? This is the big level you don't want to lose. This is going to be the level. If we lose this, this is where I say, hey, guys, 4-year cycle looks like it's going to repeat. We're probably going down for that 70-ish% correction, right? Again, this isn't necessarily my base case right now, but that 75% correction, traditional 4-year cycle, October bottom coming in, lining up with exactly what we've seen in the past, right? Bottoming around October. Lower highs, lower lows. Once we start losing this, that's where I say, let's look down towards the 30s, right? Now let's pull a Fibonacci retracement here. There's your golden pocket, right? Even the 786. Hopefully, 25K is a little bit deep, in my opinion. But there you go. You have some confluence there on the golden pocket, the POC, and the value area low. This is kind of the lowest I'm willing to look, right? Again, not my base case. We're hoping it could happen somewhere up here. You have massive support up here. Previous all-time high. Would not like to break that. Slipping below it slightly to tap the value area high in the POC down here is not a big deal. Once you lose that point of control, the value area low is going to become magnetic, bringing you down into the 30s. That would be the traditional 4-year cycle bear market. Those are the two scenarios. So we're rooting. We're rooting, right? We are rooting for scenario 1, right? We're rooting for something like that. If this time is different, right? And at the end of the day, is it really that different, right? 2026 would be an expected bear market, right? Bear market doesn't mean you have to go down 75%. Again, if they print money, I would not just be saying like, oh, ignore that, guys. Doesn't even matter. We have to go down for 75%. Why? We have to have an alt season. Why? Right? You have to trade the market you're given, not the market that you're hoping for. So if we see the money printing, hey, guys, and again, there will be signs very likely on the chart, just like they were up here, signaling that we're going to get some kind of big push to the upside, right? So if we see those signs, we're tapping in here. We see the macroeconomic stuff starting to level up. We start to see the confluence between the macroeconomics and the charts and the support. Well, hey, we could start. I would have no choice, right? I would have no choice but to say, hey, guys, this looks good. Send it, right? But what are most people going to be saying here? They're going to be saying, oh, now we're finally starting a bear market. They're not going to want to buy that dip. They're not going to want to buy the pullbacks, and they're going to get caught off sides, just like a lot of people got caught off sides in the previous cycle, right? So option number 2, very simple. Traditional 4-year cycle bear market, bottom around October. Of course, like price is not going to be, right? I would expect it to look something like that, right? Those are the two scenarios. We'll see, right? Only time will tell. Those are the two main scenarios that I'm looking at. And again, the nitty-gritty, are we going to bounce off the value area low? Are we going to slip to the value area high? Those little kind of nitty-gritty details are hard to call right now because I don't know what the charts look like. But one thing I can say, guys, is the charts look almost identical. It doesn't even matter if I could look at this, right? If I couldn't look at this, I would still have to be looking for lower highs and lower lows, right? It doesn't have just to do with the 4-year cycle. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to kind of give up on the 4-year cycle if we see the money printing. I wouldn't just stick to that 4-year cycle. You don't want to ignore it, but you also don't want to ignore things that are valid, right? Which massive money printing would definitely be valid. It's good for risk on assets. Let's go. If the charts agree with that as well, I'll have no reason to be but to be a Super Bowl, right? And hopefully, so the whole point of this, guys, is to have you mentally prepared, to have you psychologically prepared for what you might see happen, right? If we get this, you want to say, all right, now I'm going to expect everyone to be scared. Now I'm going to expect and you have to understand, it is painful. Just because I understand the charts does not mean that I don't feel the pain here. It doesn't mean that I don't get scared. It doesn't mean that I don't second guess. I feel those emotions, but I listen to the chart. I make my decisions based off the chart, right? I always talk about trading and like working out are very similar. It's simple. Listen to the charts, buy low, sell high. But it is not easy. Simple is not the same thing as easy. It's simple as ABC, but it's as hard as, I don't know, something that's really hard. If you want to work out, if you want to get in shape, it's very simple. You eat right, you go to the gym consistently. That's it. Simple. Easy, right? You think it's easy. But when you're really tired after a day of work, right, that's the emotions. Oh, man, I kind of just really want to go home and relax. I'm sore. I'm tired, right? Then you skip a day at the gym. Then the next day is easier to skip, right? Now, what are you doing? You're making your decisions based off your emotions, not discipline. So I feel, right, like this is scary. These are real things. I'm not saying that these things are just like fake news or anything like that. People lost a ton of money here, right? Tragic. They are real things, right? But the signs were on the chart here. So we see a lot of the same signals here. So it just would not shock me. And again, I'm happy to be wrong here. I am happy for this thing to go into new all-time highs. I will come up here and celebrate that the charts were wrong. I pray that they are, but I just can't make my decisions based off that. And at the end of the day, if they are wrong, I'm still holding a portion of my bags. I'll be able to capitalize a little bit more. But after holding from down here and riding the bull market up, I've made most of my profit, right? I've taken it. Altcoin's a little bit of a different story. I think that caught a lot of people off guard this cycle, as well as me. I did not know that the altcoins were going to super underperform this cycle. I don't have a crystal ball. But you could learn this lesson and position yourself correctly the next time around. So going into 2026, you want to try to have that mindset of making your decisions based off information and not just only seeing the bearish case and also not only seeing the bullish case, right? A lot of people just put those blinders on. They see the market they want to see. They read the news that they want to read, right? I don't even pay attention to the news, right? The news doesn't matter to me. But then people would be like, well, if you didn't pay attention to the news, you wouldn't have known this happened. Well, we saw this happening much earlier, right? We didn't know it was going to happen, but we saw that the charts were very likely pointing down. So I know 2025 was a very, very rough year for a lot of people in crypto. I know a lot of people were overexposed in altcoins. And I'm really happy that, a lot of my stances have been, and it's not that I was right. It's just that I take the stance that I take when it comes to investing and trading and just in crypto in general is not trying to gamble and be right based off what I want. It's by understanding the charts and managing the risk, right? I didn't predict the altcoins, but what did I do this cycle? I was much more heavily involved in higher cap projects I believe in, right? And also, I was much less exposed to altcoins because I know they're risky, right? I know that when Bitcoin dumps, the altcoins are going to dump a lot more. So I positioned myself correctly. And on top of that, the number one thing that I did that I was happy about this cycle was I positioned myself correctly, as good as I could have gotten it, right, in this bull market. I bought a lot of my altcoins very low, which some of them are still in the red, but not as deep in the red as if I waited for them to pump, right? My Bitcoin, obviously I had my major targets, and that's another thing in 2026. You want to try to set a plan and stick to it. Right, my plan here, we talked about these targets on the channel. 92 to 102K was target number 1. Target number 2 was about 130,000. We made it up to 126K. Once we started seeing the break of $108,000 with all these bearish signs on the chart, taking a little bit more profit because it's not worth the risk for me, right? I would much rather take some profit off the table, and if we did continue up, I make a little less money, still making money, just less. That's greed. I would not want to do that. It was not worth the risk from holding down here to just be like, I hope it goes up and just ignore all the bearish signs. Right? So think about that going into the next cycle, right? And I'm not saying the new year is the next cycle, right? But, if we're going to go into 2026, which we expected to be a bear market year, whether it's the shallow bear market with this time is different, or if it's a full-blown 70-ish% correction, position yourself correctly, right? This helped me a lot in this cycle. Bitcoin was, I couldn't have asked to get that better, right? But altcoins, position yourself accordingly, right? Don't wait until Bitcoin is breaking all-time highs to buy, right? You've already missed a bulk of the move. Maybe the bulk, let's 382%. If you're buying after Bitcoin is in the news, after all-time highs, you get 70%, right? This is not where the money is made. The money is not made in the bull market. The money is made in the bear market. The decisions you make in the bear market is what makes you money. And if you want to be in a position where you're cozy in your positions, making money and not just totally fumbling your bags, buying high and selling low, and I know a lot of people are there, and I empathize with you. I truly do feel the pain because I've experienced it before. Like, a lot of people buy after the all-time high. And not only do they buy after the all-time high, they buy on the green candles. So they're just instantly in pain. And then, God forbid, you sell your bags at the low, and then you're jumping back in, and you just revenge trade. You chop up your whole bag, and it's like, oh, man, I was already too late. You can change this. I've been in this situation. I've experienced it, right? A lot of this stuff that I talk about on this channel comes from a place of true experience, pain that I've actually felt. So please, for the love of God, learn from my mistakes, learn from my experience to try to skip the mistakes, become more successful faster than I did, right? Learn from my mistakes. I've already gone through the pain. Take my pain and learn from it, right? So if you felt this pain, don't feel bad. I've done it. And again, altcoins are hard, right? Like, no one could have guessed that, right? But take that into 2026, right? If we do go down, don't get scared. Don't leave the market and wait for price to pop back into new all-time highs to buy. You're going to wind up in this very similar situation that a lot of people were in this cycle. The reason I was so happy with all my decisions in crypto here were not because of the decisions that I made up here. It was because of the decisions that I made down here. This is the time to pay attention to crypto, not up here. You want to be positioned and just enjoying this, and you want to be getting out. When it's in the news, when you have all the massive bullish events, pro-crypto president, Trump launches a meme coin. Meme coins are going crazy, right? These are massive top signals. Maybe this was the top, just like in my opinion, this was the top. So that's my thoughts, guys, going into 2026. And from a trading perspective, again, I saw some people that said their New Year's resolution was to start taking day trading seriously. This has absolutely changed my life, obviously. And I'm going to jump into some of the altcoins in a second, but I want to talk about the Zcash trade because I was talking to the premium Discord today, and I was just kind of reflecting on the year. Every year that goes by, I kind of just like look back and like look at how I've grown, the mistakes I've made. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes this year. I have them written down to actively try to fix those mistakes going forward. But today, last night, or earlier today, I actually had an experience that I was like, really put things into perspective for me. And it had to do with the Zcash trade, right? Now, this Zcash trade obviously was in the Discord. We were looking, and we talked about it on the live stream as well. I talked about this yesterday. We saw the massive push to the upside. Obviously, Zcash went absolutely crazy. We get the big drop to the downside. And what do? Very similar to the analysis I just did on Bitcoin. We see the daily money flow coming out. So what do we say? And this hasn't even played out yet. Maybe this doesn't play out. Still was able to make a bunch of money here. And I'm going to explain this, right? We look to come into some key levels of resistance sitting up here to look for bearish confirmations. We talked about these bearish confirmations on the live stream, looking at the 4-hour bearish divergences. We get the drop to the downside. We covered this local profile yesterday with the daily red dot printing on the daily. That's where you see daily red dots. And then the 90-minute money flow looking to come into the red, looking for the drop down into this value area low. Obviously took that short, and we had some very clear targets here. 517.95, 506.24, and 499.89. Basically $500. We came down to every single target, and I set my take profit, guys. Last night I was laying in bed, and I like snapped out of bed. I was like, oh my god, I don't have my stop loss set and my take profit set. So I jumped up. I set my take profit. I thought I set a partial take profit, and I just didn't. I don't know. Sloppy move on my part. And I woke up, and I was like, yes, we dumped. This is great. I was fully out of the trade. So I was telling the Mafia earlier today, and it made me reflect on how far I've come in my trading and what has actually helped me find this success, right? And it's not having the fire setups, which is obviously important, but I wound up making like $3,000. I woke up, I saw I was out of the trade. I was like, oh my god, this is great, and I was fully out of the position, made $3,000. And I let them know here, I'll just kind of summarize what I said. I was basically saying, hey guys, I set a full take profit instead of a partial TP. It's pretty frustrating, but it really puts into perspective, right? Years ago, that would have been a dream trade for me. And now I wake up and I'm frustrated that I only made $3,000, right? And I know, it's not lost on me. That perspective is not lost on me, right? Something that a few years ago would have felt like a dream to me. When I first started trading, I was trying to make $100 a day, $200 a day. Remember, $200 a day can replace a full-time job. Never did I think that I would be able to make $3,000, and that would be the result of a mistake that I made, right? But it was because of discipline. Right, I set the take profit, right? I wanted to take partial take profit, and it's like that discipline was able to protect me, make me that money, and by making that mistake, I made $3,000, and I'm frustrated over that. And it just kind of showed me the amount of progress that I've made, not just this year, but just in my trading journey in general. And I know a lot of you guys are in that situation where you're starting with a small account. You're probably hoping maybe I can make $100 a day, $200 a day, and that felt impossible to me at one point. And now I'm making mistakes and frustrated, right? Not upset, frustrated. Like, I'm frustrated at the mistake. And I really just put into perspective, it's like, I would have never thought that, a few years down the line, I would be frustrated over making a mistake and actually making $3,000 in like less than 24 hours. I don't say that to brag. I don't say that to be like, look at me. But it just shows that anybody can do this, guys. Anybody can do this. And if you're learning how to day trade, obviously we have all the content for free on the channel. Of course, we have the Discord as well, but we have all the free content on the channel. And if I can do that, I literally went from making $50 on a trade being like, oh my God, this is crazy. And now it's like $3,000 is like, oh man, I made a mistake. And I feel so blessed to be in that position. And it wasn't luck. It wasn't like the best strategy ever that I learned. It wasn't finding the best indicator. It was by making mistakes, being disciplined, and changing those mistakes and changing my behavior to fix those mistakes moving forward. And, in the blink of an eye, a few years go by and your reality completely changes. It flips upside down. And I want you guys to learn from that. And if you're in that position learning how to trade and you feel stuck, and maybe 2025, I know it was a good year for a lot of the Mafia members making huge progress, so shout out to you guys. But if you're learning how to trade and it's frustrating and you're thinking, man, I started trading 3 months ago and like it just doesn't feel like it's clicking, it took me years. And I just want this to be proof that you can do this too. So go into 2026 optimistically, crypto aside, right? Just trading wise, go in optimistically. And it's those who put the time in, the effort, and the work. And it takes time. And you could be the best analyst. You could be the best at finding setups. If you do not have the discipline, and the time to actually practice and the grit to sit there on the charts and learn and get punched in the face and get back up and punch in the face and get back up and learn. Eventually you can get on the other side, guys. It felt impossible to me. And just today looking back, I was just like, man, like that perspective really hit me. And I was like, this is insane. Like myself 4 years ago would have been looking at me being like he'd be so proud. Insane. Anyway, let's go back into the chat. Let's see. Seek Parabolic said 1,200 on my last scalp just from watching and learning for 3 years. Shout out to Seek Parabolic, bro. That's what I love to hear. And like I said, a lot of the Mafia members are making, a lot of progress, and I love to see it. In the Discord, I see a lot of people being like, oh my God, I caught that setup. And, Frankie, you were sleeping, and I caught the setup just from what I learned from you. And it really lights me up because I didn't have someone like that, right? I didn't have a Discord to follow. I didn't have someone like telling me the mistakes that they made so I can fix them. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So is he saying Zcash is going to drop? So yeah, I will just do some analysis here on Zcash. My overall thought process, right? I'm not saying that this is the time to enter the short, right? For me personally, I would have been short from up here. So I was planning on holding that. I will try to find a re-entry on a retracement. But we talked about this yesterday. If we see this daily money flow come out, right, the thought process there is that we did come into resistance. And the thought process is, and again, I am not saying short here and go down there, right? Like this is just drawn on the chart for an idea. But we've come into the golden pocket. We saw the bearish confirmations. We have daily money flow trending to the downside. This is what we looked at all the way back in November for a high, a low, and then as we got the bounce off the golden pocket that we looked at, we said, hey, when we retrace, if this money flow continues to leak out, we could potentially look for a lower high and a lower low, breaking structure to the downside, bringing us into our next major value area high, which sits at about 235. This would be looked at as a swing trade, and this is why I was frustrated because I was telling the Mafia, like, hey, we can view this as a swing trade, and then I just got out of it, right? So I was like, I'm frustrated at the mistake. But the thought process is, if that daily money flow comes out, you have a high, a low, potential lower high coming in on your golden pocket retracement. That is the first place you would look for a lower high. Could potentially get a bigger drop down. We'll have to see if this money flow can cross over into the red. If we do get another pop to the upside, we talked about this yesterday as well, right? The next place that I would be interested in looking for a let me see something here. Next place I would be willing to look for a trade. Right? Now, again, I'm not saying hit this level and take the trade, but it would be up here on the 786 retracement, right? Golden pocket, potentially. This whole zone is an area where you could put in a lower high and a lower low. If it doesn't happen at the golden pocket, if we're able to crack up here, put in a new high, I will be looking at the 786 value area high confluence. Once we flip this, well, hey, we're probably not going to continue down. We're probably going to continue up. That invalidates the idea of the higher, lower high, and then we can look for, potentially new all-time highs. But those are the two places to look. And, of course, we're rejecting the first level right now. So very nice, right? Again, can't complain, right? Again, kind of showing that progress that I've made, like being like kind of like, oh, man, like, how'd that happen? Like, well, hey, man, take a step back. Look at where you were a few years ago. So very nice trade, right? Like, and it just goes to show, like, even if you can't hold for those extra gains, I preach this every day, right? It's like, well, hey, if you're short from the value area high to the value area low, you close that trade in full, you make $3,000, $303, doesn't matter what it is. That was a beautiful trade that's repeatable over time, right? So that would be the next place. This does sit between about 619 and about 628. I would really not like to come above the 786, right? Once we start breaking out of there, probably going to be looking for higher prices. And another thing I will say here is on the higher time frames, I covered this yesterday as well, right? We were getting the 4-day green dot, the 5-day green dot, the 6-day green dot, the weekly green dot. So you are fighting high time frame green dots, but it's all about this money flow. So we'll see if we can continue down. I'll show some of the other targets that I have down here. The next major target, right? And again, the other thing too here, again, not that you can't make money, made a bunch of money on this too, but I'm not a huge fan of shorting inside the profile. Now, this is a macro profile, right? So obviously, come on, get out of here, volume profile. Where is this profile? There it is. from a high time frame perspective, right, if we see that daily money flow come out, right, again, we could potentially anticipate lower lows, but I would be careful, right, because we're bouncing off the POC. We talked about this. I don't love taking massive shorts above a point of control, but the reason I was interested in this was because we did have the golden pocket there. It's an opportunity for a lower high. It's a very specific situation where I would look to short while I'm not at a value area high. Obviously, the base of my strategy is to short the highs and long the lows. But in this specific scenario with that golden pocket, I was willing to take that trade. And of course, the original plan was to take partial profits here with my stop loss above the highs. And then if we did wind up getting the bigger drop down, I could continue to hold that for a big swing. But the next targets, right? If we do wind up getting the money flow to cross over into the red on the daily and we lose this point of control at about $500, I will be looking down here towards the golden pocket at 476.88 and then the 786 value area low at about 453.09. So those are going to be the next local targets. If we wind up holding support here, well, obviously we do have the 786 up there as well. Pull from the high to the low. Beautiful confluence on that value area high. And it might be confusing for people who follow along with the volume profile theories. It's like, wouldn't you be looking to hold support here and continue to trend to the upside? Yes, and honestly, the high time frame money flow isn't looking super bad, so that's kind of why I was looking to take that partial profit, protect myself for a guaranteed winning trade in case we did scam back up there. But I will be interested if we do get that push up to look for another potential rejection at that level, right? Because the golden pocket is the first place to look for the lower high. 786 is going to be the second place to look for a lower high. And if we are going to go in, Bitcoin's going to get that next big drop to the downside. If the charts are going to be correct, well, maybe we see Zcash follow suit, right? If we get the bigger retracement on Bitcoin, maybe we just fire back up. So there you go. Those are the targets to be looking at on Zcash. And there we go. Let's see. Yo, shout out to BTC Bill. Let's get it, baby. I don't have the remote on the desk, but shout out to BTC Bill. Gifting those 10 Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go. Drop that new Phoebe emoji, the new GOAT emoji. If you got a new membership, spam that GOAT emoji. And BTC Bill with a $50 super chat said, Frankie, thank you for what you do, sir. Cheers. Shout out to BTC Bill. Thank you so much, bro. You are infinitely generous to this channel and the Mafia and the channel in general. So shout out to BTC Bill. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for gifting the memberships constantly. You're the man. I'm super grateful for you, bro. Let's see. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Shout out to web page creator said, thanks. That's incredible, Frankie. Just starting. But want to get there sometime too. Shout out to Web, bro. Hopefully, I had to stop talking about it because I almost got emotional. But you could do this, man. I promise any of you, if I could do it, you can do it. I promise you. But a lot of what people don't see, they see me now, right? They did not see me when I was sitting in a room by myself getting wrecked and just making the same mistakes over and over and over. And I think one of the edges that I had in my trading journey is that I am just relentless in anything I do, right? Most things that I do. I just don't, it's not that I feel like giving up sometimes, anytime you do something hard, right? It gets harder and harder to do it. But I'm just thick-headed, right? It's like when it came to trading, I just knew that I wasn't going to go down a traditional path. I've always wanted to start businesses. I always wanted to trade. I just knew I did not want a not normal, but like a traditional life. I didn't want to go down that traditional path. So for me, it was like, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to die trying to do it. And I just don't have that thing in my brain that's like, hey, man, you should probably stop and go the safer route. I just don't have that in my wiring. So I do think that helps me, and I cannot explain how important that quality is. And if you don't even have it naturally, it could be built, right? So, I know, like, if you're out there learning how to trade, I know what it's like slamming your head against a brick wall constantly. I did it for a long time. Maybe I'm stupid, right? Maybe I should have. Looking back, right? Hindsight's 20/20. Thank God I didn't give up. And I had so many people, right? Like, hey, man, you should probably, you should probably quit, man. You should probably go get a normal job. Look at everybody else. They're moving on with their lives, and you're just still stuck here struggling. And, it's a decision. I'm not saying that living a traditional life or, going down the traditional path is a bad thing by any means. I think it's the perfect thing for many people. But if you're one of those people, you feel like, you're passionate about trading and it's just not clicking for you. There is not going to be one moment where it's just like, oh, I found an indicator. Now it's easy. That doesn't happen, right? It's consistently pushing against not against the grain, but you're just pushing against the resistance, no pun intended, until eventually you break through, right? The more times you tap on the door, the more likely that door is to open, just like we talk about on the charts. And if you hit your head hard enough, you will break through. You just can't give up. That's the biggest thing, right? I know it sounds super corny, but from someone like I've been on the other side, I know it's so hard. Like, yeah, easy for you to say, sure, right? I get that. But I promise you, the dark times that I went through were brutal. They were brutal. And any probably sane person would have just done something else, right? And you could be successful doing many different things, right? But trading was something I was super passionate about. And trust me, if I could do it, you can do it. I'm not special. I was bad in school. I got ADD. Like, I am not special. And that's why I like to break down this stuff as simple as possible for you guys. And again, help you skirt those mistakes that I made to expedite your process into making money. And we're successful doing it here on the channel and in the Discord. So shout out to, who said it? Shout out to Webpage Creator. You could do this, bro. I promise you can. If you couldn't do it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So, let's see. Shout out to Darren Does Things. Says, not currently dancing, not financial advice. You just need to watch when, if put options close on MicroStrategy, only then it will squeeze. But I don't expect MicroStrategy to go up until after the 15th of January. Shout out to Darren Does Things. And I did say there were 3 dates, right? I only covered 2 dates, March and October of 2026. There is one more date here, guys. And again, I don't want to say that this is like, of course, the one-to-one time fib that we looked at here was absolutely spot on, right? That is where the big pivot came in, just like it did in 2021 at the top. But using this same tool, right, I'm going to pull this a little bit more locally. And really, it's the same thing as a Fibonacci retracement. You just pull it from massive pivots or, significant pivots. I'm not going to explain. I'm not going to do a tutorial on the time fibs right now. Maybe I'll make a video about it. But I'm just going to pull from the low of the bear market to the high here of the first major top to the first major correction. May 2026, right? This is the other thing that I wanted to bring up. And there's actually another date as well. This is another thing that's confluent, right? So I said it was confluent with other technical indicators, May. So if we do wind up getting a continuation to the downside, and then we start coming here, they start printing money, well, that would be a big pivot, right? Now, whether it's going to be a lower high and a lower low or a massive push into all-time highs, we're going to have to wait to come down here to see what the charts look like. And, another thing I want to talk about or just mention about trading, guys, is, one of the best things I've done in crypto is I did this from the start, right? I always was a trader. I always wanted to be a trader or successful. I guess I was a trader in the beginning, but I wasn't a profitable trader. But the one beautiful thing about trading, guys, is, it doesn't matter bull market, bear market. It doesn't matter bullish news, bearish news. It doesn't matter what people are saying. It's a skill a lifelong skill that you can learn that is repeatable over time. And whether you're getting massive drops and you're using that, or massive rips or massive drops, and you're using that knowledge to profit off your spot bags or take profit on your spot bags for the moves down, when it comes to trading, right, it's just binary. It's a skill. It doesn't matter what the price says. It doesn't matter what the news says. If I had no price scale here, I could still trade the candlesticks, right? And you don't even need big drops, right? For example, again, I know not a lot of you guys might not be in the same position, but like, this was not a very significant drop. Like, you look at this on a daily time frame, like, this is a little blip to the downside. Being able to make the amount of money that you can make on these little drops down, even if this doesn't continue, right? It's like, look at that little opportunity there that you can make a ton of money, right? It's not always in less than 24 hours. Sometimes it's in an hour. Sometimes it's in a week, right? But all these little ebbs and flows. There's money here. 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 And there's money inside of all these other candles, right? Depending on what time frame you're trading, right? So these candles will go up and down forever. And if you could figure out, right, and learn how to read these charts and build the skill of technical analysis, build the skill of finding setups, and more importantly, build the skill of discipline and risk management, you can find these opportunities and consistently make money over time, even if the market is dead. Even if the market, and not that this is dead, Bitcoin's kind of dead, but even that, right? You look at the volume profiles here on Bitcoin, even locally in the scalp range. Right? Oh man, like, Bitcoin's dead, I can't make any money, right? Well, yeah, if you're invested in the spot bags, right? Obviously, but come on down to the 1 hour time frame. These are all repeatable moves, right? It's not going to be 100% every single time you go to the low, you're going to go to the high. Again, you have to learn the confluences, you have to learn the entry triggers, all that stuff, and you're not going to win every trade. I lose trades all the time. Obviously win more than I lose, but even if I lost more than I win, if your risk management is good, you could still be profitable, right? But when you could find these overall repeatable moves in the market, even these tiny moves in this chop, high to low, there's a little 4% move. There's a little 3% move. There's a little 3% move. There's another 4% move. There's another 3-4% move. There's another little 2.7% move, right? Even here, this is never financial advice, guys. This is not financial advice. I never, when I talk about stuff on the channel, I just talk about what I'm looking at to try to identify what price is going to do. I didn't trade this move, but we talked about this yesterday. And again, it's not that I'm giving trade setups, not financial advice. Of course, you have to learn, right? I can give you the setup and you might have just shorted here and then you get stopped out, right? You have to understand how to take the trades, how to manage the trades, what to look for to actually enter. But at the end of the day, we look for a high, a low, lower high, lower low, right? If you're even looking at that, this little move right here, it's a 2% move. That is plenty of room to make money, right? And potentially significant money. That move on Zcash that I captured was only, I believe my entry was like right around here. That was a 6% move for $3,000. Now, obviously, it's going to be dependent on your position size. The amount of money that you make, obviously, is going to depend on your position size. But you don't need these massive moves to make money, right? Most people just sit out until they see this, right? You don't need that, right? And the margin that I use on these trades are oftentimes, right, like this 3,000, 83%, right? That's dang near 100%. It's a 2x on your money, right? You put in 3K, you make 3K. That's a 2x. Screw them gambling on a meme coin. Learn a lifelong skill that is repeatable over time, right? And manage the risk. I don't need to get a 2x on a meme coin. I don't need to get a 2x on an altcoin because I could just find an opportunity on a chart in a bull market, in a bear market. Mind you, I made this money as price was going down. This is the power of trading, right? It does not matter. Price fluctuates, you can make money. We show you how to make money trading Bitcoin or altcoins in this case, whether price goes up or down. The opportunity is infinite. But you have to take the time to learn the skill, you have to practice it, and you have to manage the risk and have discipline. But it is possible, right? So if you're going into 2026 as a trader or you're even upset about your spot positioning, just understand you can learn this skill and repeat it over time. You don't need massive volatility necessarily. The volatility is nice. You need some kind of volatility. But even small volatility like this can be profited off of. I haven't really been trading this actively. I caught some of these trades, but end of the year, I was just traveling, so I've kind of been sitting out for the past week or so. Not really. I just haven't been trading every single day. I haven't been like scalping the lower time frames, but it's one of the best things, guys, and it's a lifelong skill. If crypto ever went away for whatever reason, which I don't expect anytime soon or ever, this is transferable to stocks. It's transferable to Forex. It's transferable to commodities. Anything you want to trade, right? Shout out to Seek Parabolic, said, that is the mindset that made me able to make consistent profits. I knew I would achieve eventually. Never give up. Yeah, and that's why you don't want to risk too much at first either, right? If you go in there with your last $1,000, right, and you're not going to be able to pay your rent, chances are in the beginning you're gonna blow up a lot of money, right? So start on a demo account. Start with a very small amount of money. People will say, oh, I don't want to make $3 on a trade, though. If you want to make a lot of profit, right, on small moves, or you want to make a lot of profit every day, right, you have to start making, you have to be okay making the small profit on a small account, right? It's very hard to make $10,000 off a $100 account in general, especially in a short period of time, right? That's why people look at leverage trading as a gamble, right? Because most people just get in, they're trying to turn $100 on 100x leverage, they're trying to look for that moonshot. That is gambling, right? That is not what we do here. We find high probability setups, tightly risk managed to profit. Right? And again, we don't win every trade. I lose trades as well. And I share those with you guys. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, we do have the Q&A open. We are running out of time here. Let me go ahead and pop this up real quick. Let me just check the Super Chats real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Shout out to Tony D with the Super Chat. Said, Happy New Year to those who are celebrating right now. Time zones are weird, man. Yeah, shout out to Tony D. Time travel is real. Shout out to Tony D. Happy New Year. Jesse says, Happy New Year, Mafia. Let's go. Shout out to Jesse. Thank you for, I think you're our newest mod, bro. So shout out to an awesome first year of being a mod here on the channel. BTC Bill with the 10 memberships and his Super Chat. Thank you, Frankie, for all you do. Cheers. Tony D said, don't forget about the Q&A. And once again, Happy New Year to the Mafia in different time zones. Shout out to Tony D. All right, let's see here. Do we have anything in the Q&A? We did a Q&A yesterday just because price is so boring, so we just figured we have a little bit of fun. Let's see here. Okay. What do you do when you're underwater on shorts like today on River USDT? Shout out to Spizlet. Shout out to you, brother. Very, very simple, right? What do I do when I'm underwater on shorts? not unless I forget to put a stop loss, right? Or I think my stop loss is set and it's not, which is a rare occasion. It's very simple, right? When I short, and this is an important lesson, if you do not have a plan, you do not have a trade, right? Trade the plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to wind up lost, right? And very likely with lost money. So you have to have a plan. What is your plan, right? Well, I'll show you here in the Discord. My plan for the short on Zcash, obviously looking at it as more of a swing trade as I just showed you guys. But at first, getting into the position, seeing the local support down below. And of course, I accidentally closed the whole trade in profit. But my original plan here was to come down to these support levels, right? I was looking to take partial profit at the 506 value area low. At that point, I take money off the table. I move my stop loss to break even. I am now in a guaranteed winning trade. If price spikes to the upside, I get stopped out in profit. And even if I didn't move my stop loss, I take partial profits. Or even if I don't, let's just say I get into the trade and it goes against me. Well, I have the invalidation for the trade, which is where my stop loss goes. So if I'm underwater on a trade, I don't really do anything, right? Because you're not always going to be instantly in profit on a trade. Let's just say no candles, just this is your trade, right? You're looking for a short. You get into the short, you have your confirmations, you have your stop loss, right? Oh, I'm in profit. Oh, wait, now I'm underwater, right? So this is where you're saying you are, right? You're in underwater. Well, what do I do here? I don't really do anything. I just go, I expect my trades don't always instantly go into the green. A lot of times they do, but not every time, right? A lot of times you start off in drawdown. You enter a little late, whatever it is. But again, you have the hard invalidation for the trade, right? Where am I wrong on the chart? Right now, those where you place those invalidations are all different based on the setup, the entry trigger, all that stuff, right? You have to have a plan. So when I'm underwater, I don't really do anything, right? I just sit there. Like yesterday on the Zcash trade, I was underwater at some point. It was actually fluctuating really fast. But I was underwater. What do? I don't do anything, right? Because if it goes against me and the trade gets invalidated, it automatically stops me out. So if you were sitting there and you're underwater and you don't know what to do and you're like, oh my God, I'm in the red. Do I close the trade? What do I do? You got to take a step back. The mistake was made prior, right? You don't have a plan. You're just kind of hoping price. You see something, you think price is going to go down, you enter, and then you don't know where you're going to get out. You have to have a plan for the trade, right? And I'm not going to go over exactly where to set your stop losses and all that. I have tutorials on the channel for that. But at the end of the day, it's, hey, do I have a key level? Boom. There's my key level. All right, I have my key level. Do I have an entry trigger? Awesome. Do I have confluence? These are the 3 check marks that I typically look for. Did I hit the key level? Yes. If I hit the key level, that's check mark number 1. I don't just take the trade when I hit the key level. I need to see a reason to get into the trade, an entry trigger. Do I have an entry trigger? Let's just use a bearish divergence, for example. Do I have the bearish divergence? Yes. Now I have an entry trigger. At that point, more often than not, I'm taking the trade. The bonus check is confluence. Do I have a lot of other time frames pointing to the downside? Does the market look weak? Does it look like, and again, these are things you learn, which I can't obviously explain right now because it would take forever. But again, all the free information on the channel explains all this. But do you have confluence? If you have all 3 check marks, A+ setup. You take that trade, and then again, I guess the 3rd check mark, right? This is like when you take the trade, but there is one more check, which is where am I wrong on the trade? And more often than not, just to be very simple, let's just say you have a downtrend. Right? Price is coming down. You're looking to enter on the retracement. You get the bearish divergence. Where am I wrong on the trade? Maybe it doesn't look like this. Maybe there's your downtrend. You get the retracement. Where's your invalidation? Well, a lot of people will put it above the previous high, right? Because if I'm expecting this trend to continue down, maybe I have a golden pocket 786 here, which is where I know lower highs are likely to come in at. Where's my invalidation? Well, my invalidation is either going to be above the 786 because that's the level I want to reject. But of course, you could wick above that slightly. So, you could put it above that high. If I want this downtrend, if I'm expecting this downtrend to continue, well, I'm not going to want to break above this high. If I break above that high, I'm obviously wrong, and the market looks like it wants to turn around. So I want to get out at that point. You have to have that hard invalidation, and it's different for every trade. But in the case of just entering on a retracement in the anticipation of a continuation down, well, guess what? You would put it above the previous high, and if you wanted to be more conservative, you can maybe put it right above the 786, right? But if you're looking for the trend to continue, above the previous high would be where I would set it, right? If it goes up here, I'm now wrong. I lose a small amount of money, right? You only want to risk about 1% of your account on each trade. Not put 1% of your account on each trade. Risk 1%, meaning when you get stopped out, you only lose 1% of your account. That will allow you to take tons of trades without blowing up your account. If you're just taking shorts without a plan, you're going to be in drawdown. You're not going to know where to get out. You're going to be underwater like crazy. You're probably going to you're not going to want to close it because you're just going to hope it goes back into profit with no real reason to expect it. And you probably should have been out of the trade a long time ago. And then that's how you get wrecked. So hopefully that helps you out, bro. Watch those tutorials. If you don't have a trading plan, I think I have a trading plan video, how to make a trading plan. Watch that. All right, let's see. Happy New Year. Shout out a lot of Happy New Years. Did I cover ETH already? I did not cover ETH yet. Shout out to Izzy. What is going on, Izzy? Good to see you in here. Said, if you had to buy an altcoin right now, what would you buy and why? Probably wouldn't be. I'm not interested in buying altcoins personally right now. So I guess that's the simple answer to the question. Yeah, I think that's probably just the simple answer. It's not because I just think they're going to go to zero or anything, but I just wouldn't be interested. I'm just not interested in buying altcoins right now. Not that you shouldn't. I'm just not personally interested. So to answer that question, I just don't have interest. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Golden Child answering the question, saying, obviously you just keep moving your money from your bank account into your trading account and then get back underwater on the trade, of course. Shout out to Golden Child. I think he said JK. I think that's what a lot of people do. Really thankful to 2026 for blessing me with Frankie Candles. I keep an alarm daily to attend your live streams in India at 4 a.m. daily. Thanks a million for your efforts. Shout out to Saeed. I appreciate you, brother. I see you in here all the time, man. Thank you so much for being here. Happy 2026, man. Shout out to Aziz said, Frankie, I know you trade out across multiple exchanges. Do you have enough time to enter in each or use an external service? I do not use an external service. I just don't like connecting my exchanges to external places. So no, I typically, when I take trades on multiple accounts, I'm either entering one on my computer and then entering another one on my phone, or I just have multiple tabs open and I just kind of enter them. Most of the time I'm using market orders. Obviously, limit orders will save you on fees, but most of the time I'm aggressively entering on market orders. Shout out to Aziz. Take a look at XRP. I'll take a look at ETH and XRP real quick. Let's see here. Why haven't I won a prize? Shout out to Eddie. We're rooting for you, bro. Friday, we got another giveaway, and we are going to be announcing the free funded account giveaways on Friday as well from the Warbucks video. If you have not seen that, check it out. It is still open for you guys to enter. Why do your feet smell and your nose run? Shout out to Al Jr. He's been hitting us with brain busters recently. That's a good point. Why do you park in the driveway and drive on the parkway? It's another wild thing. I actually know why they call it a parkway, or I was told why they call it a parkway, but I'm not comfortable sharing it because I don't believe it. Shout out to Crimson says, shout out to Crimson. How are you? I hope you have a blessed new year, you and Mrs. Candle. Shout out to Crimson. I appreciate you so much, bro. You as well. Crimson and Crimson's girlfriend. Flipper Frank said, Happy New Year. See the G. Candles, the G, I guess he means. Shout out to Flipper Frank. Great name. Shout out to Mr. Jinx says, Frankie's such an oversold weekly momentum wave and no bounce. Well, you know, that is the hope, right? Of course, absolutely correct. Definitely a super oversold momentum wave here. You even have the hidden bullish divergence. You know, hopefully we can get the retracement, right? I know that's still not out of the cards. Again, I am a little suspicious of it at this point. We got to get going here. So yeah, I mean, not every, you know, one thing that people tend to forget sometimes is that oversold, like I'll never forget the first time I learned about an RSI. I was like, wow, this is so simple. Once you're oversold, you buy. Overbought, you sell. Easy. One thing people forget about is that you can remain oversold for quite some time. So like even here, right? Like oversold. And of course, you know, you get a little bit of a bounce. That's kind of what we're hoping for. But yeah, just an oversold wave would not necessarily like guarantee a bounce. I mean, nothing's guaranteed on the charts, but yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? I mean, we did a little bit of a bounce, I guess. So it's just going to be Yeah, I mean, we did. We hit the support. We're starting to get a bounce, but not every oversold RSI or oversold momentum wave is guaranteed to give you some kind of a significant bounce. Of course, I would pray for that and hope for it, but like even here, right? You bounce and you just continue down, right? And it's oversold, right? We just continue to grind to the downside. So there you go. What if we break the 30s? It depends on, again, what the chart looked like at the time. I hope we don't have to break the 30s. It's not my base case. But we'll have to cross that bridge if and when we get there. That would be definitely alarming to me. Have a bing bong year, everybody. Shout out to Wolf of Crypto. The year just ended. New yearly candle starting. There we go. All right, let's check the 12-month candle. It's green. It's green. Let's go. Obviously, this can change. But there is your red yearly candle on Bitcoin, guys. Doji candle. At that. I guess better than like a massive bear hammer. And we'll see. But there's your red yearly candle. All right, let's see. Happy New Year. Much love. Shout out to Rudy. Let's go. We appreciate you, Rudy. Thank you for the super chat, man. Happy New Year, and thank you for being such a big part of the Mafia this year. You came in, I think, like in the middle of the year, maybe recently, but you've been a big supporter, bro. We appreciate you so much. But let's go ahead, and I'll cover ETH real quick. I'm going to run through the altcoins super quick, guys, because I do have to hop out of here pretty soon. Let's go on over to the alt chart. Again, right, the reason I have not really been covering the altcoins here, guys, is because the market's just dead right now, right? Again, low volume on Bitcoin. We're above the value area low. We lose the value area low. This is the biggest key level. We wind up losing the value area low decisively. We can't get back above it. Next level is 2674. 2670 at the value area high of the previous range. That's what I'm looking at, right? If we get the bounce, your biggest level of support or resistance is going to be sitting between the golden pocket and the 786 value area high confluence between 3188 and 3346. These are the biggest levels to be looking at right now. But again, as we just kind of wiggle around here, eventually we'll move, right? Like things are really calm until they're not, right? Typically, there is usually a big move coming. Hopefully it's a move to the upside. Daily money flow attempting to trend up here. But again, it's been very choppy lately in this low volume environment. I don't really have a preference here, to be quite honest. I'm not trading Ethereum right now, but those are the big levels to look at. It's not going to be until we can flip this POC decisively. I will say this, if you could get a push, definitely an area where you can look for a lower high, but once we flip that POC, if this money flow is coming into the green, well, then you could start targeting the higher level up here between 36.47 and 39.40. But again, I would be cautious of that, right? Because if Bitcoin's going to get the big dump, if Bitcoin gets a big retracement, right, it wouldn't be super uncommon to see Ethereum either come up into the POC or even up here into the value area high. Would that change the higher time frame perspective? No. Not really, right? There's your weekly money flow crossover on ETH. This would still indicate lower highs and lower lows. We've already gotten a retracement into the POC, right? So golden pocket 786, this is an area to potentially continue lower highs and lower lows. If we get above this, still an area to put in lower highs and lower lows because this weekly is going to indicate a long-term continuation. You can get pretty massive bounces to still put in a macro lower high. Wouldn't be until we are able to flip back above this value area high and, really get accepted into this value up here where I would say, really the line in the sand, right? Not that I'm looking for all-time highs here at all, but maybe flipping above the 786. Wake me up when we flip $4,445, right? That could indicate, hey, maybe the lower highs invalidated and you can look up to higher prices. But until then, massive resistance, massive resistance. If you break down, your next local level of support, which we've already tapped, is about 2670. Break into this range. POC sits at 2534. Value area low sits at 2461. So that's what I'd be looking at on Ethereum. Pretty much the same view as Bitcoin. XRP, let's take a look at it because we looked at this yesterday talking about that 786 holding by the skin of its teeth, and it continues to hold by the skin of its teeth, and we have tapped it once again here. So, yeah, tapped once, tapped twice, almost tapped 3 times. Now it is actually tapped 3 times. I don't like that these are tapped multiple times. More times you tap on the door, more likely it is to open. In this case, the door is the floor. If we lose this 786, the next big level to look down towards is probably going to be 150 about $1.53, which is the value area high of your previous range here back from 2021. This is an extremely important level of support, right? And it's not that retracements. We've seen retracements come in again, right? But again, higher time frames could still be calling for lower highs and lower lows. It's hard to say if we're going to come down here now or go for the retracement first. I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen. But another thing that we looked at yesterday was the fact that we do have our visible range volume profile showing us a massive volume gap here. So what would I expect if we break down here and we lose this level? There's nothing underneath you, right? Fast move down, fast move up, fast move down. Price does not like to stick in these zones. So if we lose that 786, I would anticipate a fast drop to the downside. So there we go. Same sentiment as yesterday. 786, $1.82. We're sitting at it right now. Got to hold that level. And if we get a move to the upside, the biggest level to get above is going to be the value area low at $2. Flip that, maybe we can get a bigger retracement. If not, we lose this. Nothing really underneath you here. Massive gap. Price likes to stick to the high volume nodes and fly through the low volume nodes into your next support level. If we lose this, you have another massive low volume gap. You have a little bit of support in there on this level, and then maybe even about around like $1.12. But until then, or after that, right, it's just massive volume gap. The next significant high volume node is down here at 50 cents. I'm not saying you have to go down there, right? Hopefully we can hold that value area. I mean, hopefully we can hold the 786. If not, hopefully we can hold the value area high here between $1.52 and about $1.40. So there you go. Other than that, just dead market, guys. Dead market. Yo, shout out to Golden Child. Said XRP was one of the only alts I actually pulled the trigger on and sold at a high price. Let's go. Shout out to Golden Child. Nice move. It's one of my only altcoins that's still in the green. All right, let me come back in the top chat here. No more 3 green, year 1 red year. Let's take a look at it. All right, let's see. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Obviously anything can happen, guys, but this is, maybe something that you keep in mind, right? You take note of. But just like alt season's not guaranteed, right? There's a lot of things that goes into this stuff, right? 3 green candles here, 3 green candles here, right? You get 3 green candles, 1 red candle, 3 green candles, 1 red candle. You would hope for 3 green candles. It's nothing guaranteeing that that's the rule, right? Or that's something that has to happen. Just like the 4-year cycle doesn't have to happen. We take it into account. You could take this into account. But it's just not something I would ever make my decisions based off of, right? Because again, it's like, what do I make my decisions? And who knows, right? Like maybe you get a little fake red candle and then it's another, yearly candle like this. I mean, back here, you had red candle, green, green, 2 greens, and a red, green, 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 red, green, 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 red, green, green, red, right? So it's not that we've never gotten that we've never seen this happen. But it is obviously statistically, you've had this happen, 3 green candles happens more often, technically, based off the small information we have here on the weekly or the yearly. So yeah, I mean, it's not something I personally take into account. I never oh my God, we didn't get the 3 green candles. It's not something that I make decisions off of. So yeah. Shout out to Celinda, said, I'm curious where multiple influencers were coming up with $7 to $22 XRP in 2025. Shout out to Celinda. This is why I think a lot of people learn their lesson, right? Because as you guys know, I only like to give information, right? I know maybe where the targets come in at, but anytime I talk about targets, you guys know, I never will say, never have said, in 2025, we're going to go to this target, right? Or we have to go to this target. Obviously $100, $10,000 targets for XRP. I don't know where that comes from. It's all conspiratorial stuff. I don't fall in that camp ever. But to be fair, right, my targets here on XRP, I'll take off everything else except for the targets. Right, I am a reactionary-based trader, which I would say everyone should be, right? Like, there's no reason. I think a lot of people fall under the spell of this person is on the internet. They have to know more than me. They have to be right. So, and a lot of people talk very decisively. Guys, 2025, XRP is going here. Bitcoin is going to 200,000 in 2025. Here's why Bitcoin is doing this. I just can't speak that decisively. And the reason for that is because I truly understand that nothing is promised. Nobody knows. Doesn't matter how many followers they have. It doesn't matter how much money they've made. Nobody knows if Bitcoin is going to do something. Now, you can say, hey, here's targets. But what do we talk about on Bitcoin, right? And I'm very, I don't want to say proud of myself, but I'm very happy that I stick to my biases, right? If we look at my Bitcoin outlook for the long term, we talked a lot about upper targets, right? And those are, let me pull the upper bull market targets. I deleted them as we tapped them, right? But our first target was here, right? And we talked about these all the way down here at $30,000. They're all based off Fibonacci extensions, right? We had one sitting here between $92,000 and $102,000. Target number one. We get up to that target, I take small profits, right? Because it wasn't my last target, it was my first target. I kind of do a weighted dollar cost average out of the market, right? Small profits here, and then when we hit the next targets, I take bigger profits, right? And these were local targets, so I'll take these off, right? My major bull market targets were right here, right? If you watch the channel, you'll know this. 92 to 102K. We hit up here. Hey guys, I've taken small profits. I do expect to continue into new all-time highs, but I've taken some money off the table. I'm holding from down here. Why would I not do that? That's silly, right? I'm already up, whatever it is, 383.7%, whatever it is. Target number one. Target number two, next major target number two, was sitting up here at $138,000. We did not hit that target, but as we approach those targets, and every time, even I believe in this video, I talk about, I'm not saying Bitcoin is going to $155,000, $200,000. These are the targets I will be watching on the way up. As we push into those targets, we identify if the market is strong enough to continue past them. In this case, I saw the market was strong enough to get a dip and a push back into all-time highs. And, of course, we front-ran the major target, but you have the local targets. Our local target here has been all the way at the bottom because it's been sitting here forever. We have the Fibonacci extension between $118,000 and $124,000-ish, right? We know that's resistance. If we broke above this, hey, very high probability you come into $138,700. There is no guarantee that we hit this. I'm very transparent about that, right? Because I don't know if it's going to hit that. And when we start to identify, and I always say this, right? If I see, and on XRP, I'll tell you where people get I don't have a $7 target. I have an $8.50 target. But it is never, we have to go up to that target, right? Here's target number one. We didn't even hit target number one. But does that mean that when we come into major resistance and we see massive bearish signals that we don't take that into account? Of course. You want to set your traps, right? No one knows if you are definitely going to go to target number two, definitely going to go to target number three, definitely going to go to target number four, or if you're not even going to hit target number one. Nobody knows. But people will say, this is why XRP is going to this price before the end of 2025 or whatever it is, right? Anytime someone speaks decisively about something like that, and I think a lot of people have learned their lesson and they have to walk a lot of that stuff back now, I never have to do that, right? Because I don't speak decisively because it's the truth. It's not because people who say decisive things know something I don't know. It's just that they are kind of falsely speaking decisively, right? I understand. I've been in this market for a long time. I've been doing technical analysis for over 10,000 years. Over 10 years. I understand that, there's nothing that's going to guarantee, right? You can have your targets, but you come up to here and it's like, hey, this starts to look weak. High time frame money flow starts to come out. You make that decision, right? It's the same thing on Bitcoin, right? We see this early target. We start to lose $108,000. I did not take my profit up here at $137,000 because we didn't hit the target. But once I see that we're hitting major resistance and we see that major weakness at 108K, like, hey guys, if I see that I always say this, if I see that the market does not look like it's going to continue up at this target, I'll say that I think the top is in. If I think it's coming in at this target, I will say I'll think the top is in. right? No guarantees on the targets. But I don't think everybody's very open about that because they want to give that decisiveness. That's what supports views. That's what supports building a YouTube audience. Doesn't support people making money. I just won't get my audience. I just won't get the Mafia wrecked like that. I'm very happy seeing a lot of people walk stuff back that I don't take that stance. That's bound to backfire, right? So I just look at the charts and I just talk about the information. I talk about the decisions that I make, and I'm very transparent about that. So yeah, to be fair, right? I have a target all the way up here at $14, right? No guarantee you get up to $14, but it's like, hey, if price continues up above the all-time high and we push into 450, maybe the top comes in here. I won't know until we get in there, right? Just like I don't know if price is going to go up there. I don't know if it's going to reject from there until we get up there. If it looks really good, I would say, hey, looking for higher lows and higher highs. If we get up here, if it looks like the top is coming in, I'll say it. If not, I'll be saying, hey, maybe we can go to the next target. It's an if this, then that statement. And this is how you make money in the market long term, right? Here I took small profits because, and notice, I didn't just not take profits. I took small profits because I think, hey, the cycle's very likely to continue into a new all-time high. I don't know if the major target 137 is going to get tapped. I don't know if 156 is going to get tapped. I don't know if the major target up here at $200 is going to get tapped. But if and when we get up to those levels, if the top looks like it's coming in, I'll make that decision, right? And we front ran that level. We had the local targets pulled from a local extension. And there it is. Once we start breaking 108K, yikes, this weekly looks like trash, right? I'm going to lock in a good portion of my profits here, guys. And it's not, you don't always sell the tippy top of the candle. I sold on the way down here. Now, obviously not on the way down here, but before things get really ugly, we saw this continuation was likely. Why would I not lock in profits if I have the ability to see this potentially coming in the future? So it's a reaction. You want to be a reactionary-based trader and a reactionary-based, I almost said influencer, reactionary-based investor, right? Down at 30K, I had no idea if we were going to go up to 200K, 150, 137, or top out here at 90, right? I have no idea. If it looked like the top was here, I would say it. But I don't know when we're down here. Just like there's no way to know if you're going to get up there, I have no idea if the top is going to come in there. Now, you can make estimations, but at the end of the day, if the top looked like it was coming in here, I would have said it, right? But obviously it didn't. So there you go. So, where do they come up with the targets? To be fair, I had massive higher targets for XRP as well. I just don't guarantee that they're going to get hit like a lot of other people. So it's just very dangerous. Very risky thing. Let's see. We only know what has happened and can have educated guesses on what could happen. Yes, absolutely. We're all just making educated guesses. Absolutely. Shout out to Aziz. Said we are printing a daily red dot now. 80K is here. Yikes. Daily red dot is printing. It is printing. 90-minute money flow is attempting to come out here. So we'll see. Looking for that local signal I'd look for here is 90-minute money flow crossing into the red with the daily red dot printing. If that 90-minute money flow crosses over, we'll see. If that does indeed happen, we can start looking. Let me hide these targets. So here you go. I'll leave you guys with this. I won't cover the hyper-local targets just because these are the major levels. Levels to mark off on your chart. I would look at this volume profile. Value area low, 85,700. POC, 87K. Value area high, 91,830. If we break out and we squeeze to the upside, biggest level of resistance, 95 to 97K. High time frame, local. The next high time frame support, sitting down here between 80,500, looking to take out that low if we get the drop, into the daily and the weekly MPOC, leading down to about, I'll pull the actual levels up here. I'll hide this daily MPOC because if we come down here, I am pretty much expecting to take out that low anyway. So I'll just hide that, pull up the weekly, and I'll actually draw this because this is not really the support. The support is down here. 79.5, to 70, call it 78K. So for me personally, I'm either get up here for the next major rejection, potential of the next major rejection. Again, just like with the major targets in the bull market, I don't know if we're going to get up here. And again, a lot of times we can say, hey, this is likely coming. And more often than not, it does. Right now, with the signals that we have, I'm not super optimistic for this. But it's an if this, then that. If we get up here, this is high time frame resistance. It doesn't mean instantly short. It means what does the market look like when we get up here? If it looks bearish, well, then we'll take the short. If not, then we hold on and we look for the next target. But 97.5 to 95K. 79.5 to 78.550. Those are the biggest high time frame resistances. And then locally, you have the liquidity below 80. You have the liquidity below 86.3, which of course sits right down here. And you have the value area low in the daily. Sits at about, 85K. 85.3 is the daily. So you're just looking at that as your local range. Dip below here, hey, maybe you have an opportunity for a scalp. Again, I'm not super interested in that, but you never know. I don't know what the chart's going to look like down there. And then the local resistance is sitting here. Maybe I can do this. It's like, I'm trying to think of a way to, right, like local. See here. Local resistance, major resistance. Light red is local, dark purple is major. Local resistance for range trading. This is local support. I'll make this like light green just to separate it, right? Because again, for me personally, I'm not super interested in the local levels right now, especially at the end of the year, right? But if you're looking to trade locally, there you go. Flip the POC, resistance at the high. Who knows? If we rotate this range again, these are the levels to look at, right? For me personally, though, for the big moves, I'd be looking down here and up here. So there you go. All right, let's see. Shout out to Fighter Pilot said, what's up, Frankie? ChatGPT says, the charts look healthy. Not concerning. Do you ever use AI to help you look at charts? Shout out to Fighter. No. ChatGPT is easily groomable. I actually did a little experiment, and I talked to it 2 separate times, and I tried to feed it my thesis like a bear, and I was like, I see all this bearish information, and a lot of people are just, saying this time is different. What do you think? And AI's like, charts are always right, man. It's definitely going down. And then I gave it a little bit of a different vibe, and I was like, yeah, there's some bearish indications on the chart, but then there's like also some of these other things that are slightly bullish, and I gave it a little bit more of a bullish tone. It was like, obviously it's going up. So no, not really. I wouldn't do that. Who knows? I hope ChatGPT is right. I hope price just goes up. Because it also depends, right? Like, if you are you explaining the high time frame cycle behavior, right? Because like if you tell ChatGPT you have all the same bearish confirmations, the timing of the 4-year cycle is the same, and you just feed it that information, it's going to tell you, yeah, that's plausible. It's probably going down, right? But if you say we have institutions in, and you start feeding it all this other stuff, it's just going to kind of give you what you want to hear for the most part. Not that it's wrong or a lie, but it's groomable, if that makes sense. You have to tell it to act as a BTC trader. My CME co-trader from ChatGPT is pretty spot on for my opens. Shout out to Post. Well, there you go. Yeah, you got to tell it be absolutely binary, and you have to make sure you feed it all the information. You can make it like, even I talk to it about a lot of stuff, but I'm very much like, don't glaze me. ChatGPT loves to glaze me. It's like, yeah, man, you're the man. I was like, no. Like, be my biggest critic. Like, when I talk to you, I want you to like shut me down as much as possible. Like, I need someone to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, it's a waiting game. Shout out to Fighter Pilot, absolutely. Housekeeping. Shout out to the Wolf of Crypto. Sui is mooning. I will just take I'm not going to do TA here, but I love, is it really mooning? Sui? Like the Sui? SUI? Frankie, how do they build the pyramid? Shout out to K-Dub. Obviously, they used resonant frequencies, and they levitated the blocks. No other explanation. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. Some people say they floated the blocks. I don't know. It is definitely weird. Did you say? I think they've discovered a new pyramid under the ice in Antarctica. I don't know if that was real. Very weird. Very weird. Good TA. Shout out to Fred. Thank you, brother. We're here every weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Smash the like button. But yeah, Tsui is not mooning. Man, I got kind of excited. I was like, oh man, New Year alt season. But there we go. AI has to be fed a ton of info, and you have to specifically customize the prompts that I'm never right, and neither are you, and you will triple check everything. Shout out to Cryptic Crab, man. Yeah, that's probably the way to do it. And like, there's now like prompt engineers. You know what? I thought this was funny. They have like I used to think like, oh, AI is a big thing now. Computer programmers are eventually going to be obsolete. AI will just do everything. So like the new thing to do is to engineer the prompts to make AI do stuff. And now there's AIs that you don't need to be a prompt engineer. The AI makes the prompts, and it's just like, geez, can't beat this thing. What is the date that I pulled the volume profile on Bitcoin from? I assume you mean the range that I just had up. I have many volume profiles on Bitcoin. This one is pulled from Sunday the 16th of November to December 29th. There you go. Giants, you guys, come on. The Giants built the pyramids, obviously. It's just Legos for them. Shout out to Ben Channel says, do you pay attention to now's days? I don't know exactly what that means. Happy New Year's, guys. Shout out to Crimson. But yeah, guys, we'll see. I do expect this waiting game to be over very soon. Specifically, I am watching a date here. Man, if I can remember where I pulled this fib time from. I think it is pulled roughly. Let me pull it up on this chart. Hopefully by January 3rd, we get a resolution. Hopefully by tomorrow, we get a resolution here. No pun intended. But yeah, early January, I would hope this can kind of resolve itself. You got the 1618 here. January 3rd. There it is. Come on. Come on. Give us this or give us this. So there you go. Hopefully by January 3rd, by the latest, we can get a bigger move on Bitcoin and have something else to talk about, guys, other than Bitcoin's at the same price it's been since November. So with all that being said, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Another year down with the Candle Mafia. Fire year of trading and live streams and tutorials, and Candle Mafia members finally starting to make money trading after their long journeys. I appreciate every single one of you guys. I feel blessed to come up here every single day to share my experiences, share the trades, share the TA, and help you guys navigate your trading journey and this crazy, crazy crypto environment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Smash that like button on your way out. Last live stream of 2026. No fake out tonight. We're going to start back next year. I'll see you guys in 2026. That's all I got for tonight's live stream. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy. On the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah. money on demand, like you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor.